That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to the long-awaited return of our DuckTales coverage on Tiki's Universe, the show where we react and respond to a whole myriad of animated TV programming. And Jacob, you know, we're trying to get a little back into the swing of things here on Tiki's Universe. We've got some plans that we want to go over with you folks. But Dragon and I have had a fun time covering Steven Universe, the flagship show on Tiki's Universe. Jacob, Steven Universe not really doing so well these days. Kind of chugging along, you know, it doesn't have nearly the hype of some of these newer shows that we're covering on Tiki's Universe.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just kind of like, you know, in season 5, it's kind of like a lot of the momentum is kind of drowned out. But I think that we have a lot of momentum going into DuckTales, though. And Jacob, another show that we want to kind of address because we've been kind of like digging our heads in the sand, kind of trying to figure out what to do with it. Folks, we talked about half of Star vs. Force of Evil Season 2. We did about half of the proper podcast for that. And then the show came back from hiatus right when I was in the middle of my Disney World trip. Then when I get back from my Disney World trip, where there was a ton of back catalog stuff that Dragon and I had to catch up on. And suffice to say, it just got away from us. So what's our plan for that, Jacob? What are we going to do to amend that?
2 big podcasts covering all the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to be doing, we currently have 12 episodes, and that includes both A and B. So, you know, 12, 11-minute episodes, barring the finale. I'm not sure how long the finale episodes are.
Well, the 2 finale episodes are divided into 2 separate episodes. Like, Divide is 1 2-part episode, and Conquer is another 2-part episode.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. Regardless, folks, we're going to be splitting it up, you know, from the 12 episodes that we have yet to talk about, and what we'll be doing there is we'll be placing timestamps in the video description so you can jump around to each individual episode. The episode focuses won't be as in-depth as if we were covering them individually, but it will be a much longer podcast. I imagine both those podcasts will probably be going for about, you know, 2 hours long or so, and usually our typical star running time is about 20 minutes, so it should be about the length of our average discussion per episode. But we also have plans for Milo Murphy's Law, just to basically be like, hey, you know, they screwed us in the airing once, but we're going to try again with season 2, starting with the Phineas and Ferb crossover when that happens. But all right, Jacob,
consider it a soft reboot.
Way. What?
I said consider it a soft reboot.
Essentially, yeah, because care to explain what happened with Milo, Jacob?
Well, Disney basically just dropped a whole bunch of episodes on us without even really announcing it, and once we realized it was there, it's pretty much too late to discuss them.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like a whole myriad of episodes, and I was like, wow, there's like literally no clean way to break this up into podcasts. This is just terrific. And since Milo Murphy doesn't have the same sort of like intense continuity as something like Star does, we feel it's pretty safe to just kind of, we'll catch ourselves up on it, of course. So we'll, you know, I'm not going to go into the new season blind to all the developments on the Pistachio Gentleman or anything like that, because I know there's some interesting stuff there to be had. But we don't feel the need to really cover it in depth in the podcast. Whatever running jokes that come up will just be like, hey, that was part of the episode in season 1 that we didn't talk about. What do you know?
Yep.
Okay, but let's talk about probably the show that most people tuning into Tiki's Universe actually want to hear about. Probably one of the biggest animated shows on today, DuckTales!
Woohoo!
A woohoo! That's right. So today we are talking about the Spear of Selene. I think plot-wise, they've really got the finger on the pulse right now, Jacob, because the Spear of Selene is this week's episode, and this is a big kind of Della Duck. This is kind of the big the big continuation of the Della Duck storyline. Next episode is going to be Beware the Buddy System, which is going to be our first appearance of Gizmo Duck. So I would say the Della Duck mystery and then the Gizmo Duck buildup were the two big things in season one that, we teased throughout the first 9 episodes or so. So it's great that the show coming back right out of the gate addresses them. I'm really excited about it.
Still doesn't really explain the hiatus, though.
Yeah, it happens with all shows. I mean, it's, December to May, honestly, I've seen worse.
Yeah, but not within like a single season that was pretty much done. I mean, this episode was copyrighted in 2017.
You're not wrong about that. That is, this show has had its fair share of air date blunders and so forth, but we try not to let that get us down here.
Nope.
All right. So, Jacob, what did you think of the Spear of Selene?
A decent return to form, it seems like. Like they're definitely swinging in the right direction.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good episode. I'm not over the moon about it in the same way that I was about, let's say, like the pilot or the Mount Everest episode. But it, like I said, it did have a good development on the Della Duck storyline that we'll get into. It also
Really,
had some fun stuff with Donald and Scrooge. I think Donald and Scrooge really stood out this episode.
I'm glad Donald actually came along on this. Like, it was nice to see more of him.
Yeah, I think Donald is actually kind of like even more so than the Della stuff. Donald is probably the highlight of the episode, at least from a comedic standpoint.
And also from an emotional standpoint to some point as well.
No, you're not wrong, because we get the sense that something bad happened here, or something bad at least is connected to this island, and it's all kind of it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition with tone in this episode where you get the sense that something's off, but at the same time we have Storkules.
Friend Donald.
My greatest accomplishment in all my many years of adventure was befriending the great Donald Duck.
Again, it's building up Donald to be this like legendary adventure hero.
Yeah, definitely. That's something very much in line with the pilot that I was happy to see kind of the groundwork being built up for.
And though admittedly he doesn't actually seem too fond of that.
Which I think is another interesting part of this character. I almost kind of get the sense that dare I say, Jacob, maybe I'm just like super stoked for Incredibles 2, but I'm almost kind of feeling an Incredibles vibe with Donald Duck. I almost feel like he was in some ways forced into retirement, and now he's kind of resentful of that previous life.
Or at least maybe, or maybe it's like something that it was heavily implied that whatever happened to his sister Della is what drove him to retirement, or at least.
Of course.
I mean, that would still be in line something with the Incredibles, but still.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do you want to kind of break up the two storylines? Which one do you want to get into first? The Zeus and Storkules storyline, or the Webby, Dewey, and Spear of Selene storyline?
It doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't matter. I mean, whatever one seems well for you to discuss first.
All right, I tell you what, let's build up to the Della Duck stuff. Let's talk about the Zeus and Storkules stuff. Zeus, voiced by Michael Chiklis. Jacob, you don't watch Gotham, do you?
No, but I am well aware of Michael Chiklis.
He had a ridiculous role on Gotham, Jacob. A ridiculous role. Oh my god. So basically, Michael Chiklis in Gotham, for a season and a half, he played like this really respectable police captain, Captain Barnes, and he was like, he's kind of like, the good Vic Mackey, he's kind of like the go-to, like take no shit kind of cop. He didn't like corruption, but then Jacob, he gets hypnotized by the Mad Hatter or some such ridiculous nonsense. I don't even remember exactly how it happens. And he becomes the Executioner. And Jacob, do you want to know what the Executioner's catchphrase is that Chiklis, poor Michael Chiklis, had to just go around and say a bunch of times on Gotham?
It's executioning time?
I wish it was that cool. No, it was just the word guilty. 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 Oh,
Oh,
not
gee.
Nicholas's finest hour. Anyways. So yeah, I do like right at the very beginning we get the classic Launchpad McQuack plane crash that we've grown to know and love on the show. I wish there was a little bit more Launchpad in the episode. He kind of just sits out for most of it.
Well, at least this time we know it wasn't actually Launchpad's fault.
Fair enough, yeah.
I mean, no, everybody else thinks it was him, but
uh-huh.
but it was Dewey and Webby's fault.
So Dewey and
Some
Webby split off. We'll check back in with them in a little bit. But like I said, to kind of build to it, we have this ridiculous competition between Zeus and Scrooge, and that this just this episode builds up Donald, but it also builds up Scrooge too, because Scrooge is so cool and such a badass that he overshadows the king of the gods.
and he doesn't need it, and even to him, it's like one of his lesser accomplishments. If you think about it, it's like something. Ugh, like he sees him as more of an annoyance.
Because basically, what this whole thing is Scrooge interrupting a vacation spot.
Yeah, but then they vacation there or something. They're like, I wonder how the question is like. One thing I will say though is like we hear more hearsay about Scrooge's adventures than actual Scrooge's adventures.
Uh-huh.
I mean Scrooge hasn't really been doing a lot of the adventuring.
You're not wrong, Jacob. That's been a common criticism of the series, and I feel like the air date mix-ups on Disney Channel's part is one of the things to blame for that. Especially because we got all those Webby episodes right in a row, and some of them didn't feature Scrooge at all. That was definitely a blunder on the show's part.
We can't. That's not something we can actually fully blame the writers on.
No, exactly. It was definitely a network decision for sure.
Yeah, that's it. It's definitely a shame that some development got jabberwocked because of it.
Uh-huh.
But considering this the switch to Disney Channel, things might be going on track.
Yeah. Let's we can bring that up really quick, folks. It seems like I was one of the people who was like a big champion for Disney XD. I kind of loved the direction that Disney XD was going in just in their content and their lineup of shows. But of course, one of the things that Disney XD was not very well known for was their airing schedules. And I'm not really sure how good the airing schedules are on Disney Channel because I haven't followed Disney Channel in a long time. But, I'm hopeful that it'll be at least a little bit more consistent. It seems like at the very least with the way that they're airing DuckTales this month and then Big Hero 6 next month, it seems like at the very least they're going back to pretty much for the most part they're having it be episodes once a week. Like Big Hero 6, there's some weeks where there's 2 episodes airing in a week, but for the most part it's 1 a week. So I think that's definitely a step in the right direction.
But people have said like that now that it's airing on the main channel is like a huge vote of confidence for these shows.
And like I said, I'm someone who did kind of defend the idea of Disney XD as kind of being like, Gravity Falls will always be the wonderkin of Disney XD. You know what I mean? Where, it was kind of like the more subversive side of Disney Channel. But like you said, I guess with these shows going on to Disney Channel in the first place, I guess it shows that Disney isn't afraid to have more subversive content on the actual Disney branded channel.
Nope.
Branding.
Well, yeah, seriously. I mean, like we got a few glimpses of Scrooge again, and David Tennant still continues to knock it out of the park.
My favorite David Tennant performance in the whole episode is right at the very end in the bocce ball game, where he's like, "Oh me, I can't believe I blew it at the last moment." Like he's so stressed and he's obviously throwing it.
Yeah, it's like he's like, oh, I've had enough of this guy.
One thing I like about the episode, though, is that we do get a good sense of history between Scrooge and Donald, which really that was one of the things that sold me on the show, hook, line, and sinker on in the pilot, was just that kind of that sense of tension that we got there in the pilot. And while I
What's
feel like the tension isn't necessarily there, I feel like there is a sense of camaraderie.
Yeah, like I said, I was about to say, like, one thing you notice here is like they actually seem to be in alignment in this one.
Right,
Like,
right. And I think that might speak to just the development of those two in the show, but I kind of wish we would have gotten a little bit more of it because like I said in the pilot, you could kind of cut the tension between those two characters with a knife.
there's definitely it's still there, but they just seem like they seem to be on a better page now. It seems
Sure, sure.
mainly because like the goals are aligned. It's like Scrooge just wants to get away from Zeus, and I think Donald just wanted to get away from Storkules.
I do kind of like the arc that Donald grows to appreciate Storkules throughout the episode.
He's actually and Storkules actually is voiced by the same guy who voices Mickey in the new Mickey Mouse shorts.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Nice, nice.
I think it's like Chris Diamantopoulos or something.
I don't dare try and pronounce the name Dragon. I'm looking at it on Wikipedia, and I'm just like, oh, and shoot, I accidentally called you Dragon. My bad.
It's fine.
Anyways,
But yeah, that was him.
programmed in there.
We're like, friend Donald. We're just acquaintances.
I guess another big laugh that the episode got was the the Siren girl.
Isn't and like how they like the completely nonchalant way Louie just managed to break them free from the spell. It's like we make exploit your town to make us both famous. It's like you got a deal. And we actually learned Louie's real name.
Llewellyn.
Yep.
Whenever I hear that name, I think of No Country for Old Men. That's the character that Josh Brolin played in No Country for Old Men. And hey, that was the movie that really put Josh Brolin on the map. And look where Josh Brolin is now. So, Louie, I think you should be proud of your real name. Because it indirectly led to Thanos.
In a way. Like
Anyway.
so there's Hubert, Dewford, and Llewellyn.
I think Dewford is probably the worst of those three names, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, though Louis could have easily just been Lewis.
I kind of like Llewellyn though. It's nice and it kind of rolls off the tongue for me.
It's an uncommon name, but it's an interesting one for sure.
And of course, there's also the I think it was a Coen Brothers movie Inside Llewellyn Davis, which was one of our first real big looks at Oscar Isaac like that. I think that came out like the year before Force Awakens.
I think so.
I was just like the name Llewellyn carries some weight. I don't know. Anyways.
What?
Oh, I just said semantics.
Ah.
Anyways.
Well, there isn't really that much to discuss in this side. It's just like
no, you're right. You're right. There's not too much. It's just kind of like a series of fun challenges.
Other than that, Zeus is just trying to like rig a bunch of games to make himself come out on top.
And I do like that Scrooge eventually just lets him win, just not out of the goodness of his heart, just because he's sick of the whole situation. That was a fun resolution. And I like that the final challenge is bocce ball.
And for then pretty much anybody at that point would just throw the game. Like though most people would in the face of the gods, Scrooge is just like, ugh.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about the thing that the good folks at home really want us to talk about, Jacob, the Della Duck stuff with Webby and Louie. Or Dewey, I should say. Sorry.
A lot of interesting developments in this one. It seems like those two will be the main ones searching for the mysteries.
Yeah, I feel like these two kind of are on their own trajectory through the series. Like Louie, we've already kind of broken it down that Louie is the is kind of like the he's kind of the the entrepreneur. He's the go-getter. He's like the businessman. That's why we saw him trying to make the deal with the Siren in this episode. And then Huey is obviously kind of like the de facto leader, but they're doing some fun stuff with him as the leader.
And Dewey's the adventurous go-getter.
Yeah, and as the adventurous go-getter, he's going to be the most closely tied to the Della Duck storyline. So that I really like the symmetry there. We've praised the show a lot over its first 10 episodes of, you know, really like going above and beyond to make all three of the characters stand out more than the one entity that the three of them combined to turn into in the original show. I mean, sorry, Russi Taylor, but you know, there was no character development on any of those people.
Well, now we do.
All right, so you know, just to boil it down here with this storyline, I like the back and forth with the note. They're trying to fill it in, you know. I like how Webby, she's not necessarily wanting Della to be a betrayer or anything, but she's just kind of like, you know, she's kind of wanting Dewey to be open to the possibility, just so it can kind of soften the blow for him if that does turn out to be the case. Because I feel like Webby is a more kind of seasoned character where she's, you know, she's a little bit more accustomed to the idea of betrayal, whereas Dewey is a little bit more starry-eyed.
Like, he wants to believe that his mother is truly this, like, basically this impeccable adventurer who could do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But when that opened up to the possibility, he's like, he pretty much almost jeopardizes their chances of figuring it out. But actually, he does grow to accept the truth. Like, I must learn the truth, whatever it is.
Yeah, so building up to that, we do get the back and forth with them, you know, with the note, different incarnations of what the note could have said.
I also like what's funny though is like another funny part is like the interaction, like when they're like going all the different ways, like the different antechambers with all the different.
I really love the sea monster interaction.
And he's like, oh, it's like it's right down there, like the antechamber to the left, and you'll be in the Garden of Selene.
You can't miss it.
He's like, oh, like you're not after this? Well, I'll just let you go then.
Oh, thanks. And by the way, I'm sorry for calling you an ugly sea monster. I'm sure you're really attractive for sea monster terms. Not really, but thanks anyways.
Yeah, at least he's understanding about it. Turned out to be a real nice guy.
But yeah, Jacob, the big moment of the episode, the moment that I feel like I and everyone else was kind of like, oh, I swear to God, if they pull this, I'm going to be pissed. You know, Dewey, I was just like, oh, please, if that door closes and it's just because Dewey didn't want to fight, I'm just like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And thankfully, Jacob, I feel like the writers kind of had us right where they wanted us, where they did get us to that emotional point where we were like actively kind of angry about the situation before Dewey turns around and does the right thing. And as he said, you know, like he wants to find out the truth no matter what it is. He wants to clear the air.
Yeah, as pretty much anyone would regarding the spear regarding his mother, because he's definitely not going to get straight answers out of either Donald or Scrooge.
And I kind of like that about the mystery, is that it's a mystery that's in plain sight, because it's a mystery that several main characters legitimately know the answer to. So I like that this show is intentionally hiding those details from the audience like that.
Yeah, it's like Scrooge definitely knows it, and as Donald reveals, like through his like adventure just makes people get hurt monologues to Storkules, that it's like that definitely like reveals like he knows what happened and he isn't too fond of it, and probably doesn't even want to let them know because it's probably too painful for him to even remember.
I would say if this episode has a letdown, it's not so much a letdown. I just feel like it didn't really reveal much as it kind of put some character stuff into perspective with Della.
It's like, yeah, though when they meet Saline, the goddess Selene, it definitely eased the tension of her being the betrayer of the family, pretty much.
That's true. It did kind of answer that question. You're right about that.
Still doesn't answer what
Uh,
happened to her though, because like an interesting tidbit though is like how they mentioned that Selene had like related to the moon and stuff.
mhm.
Like in the comics though, Della actually did go to the moon, and that's why in a lot of adventures she was with Scrooge. The triplets were with Scrooge and Donald. So who knows? For all we know, Della might actually be on the moon.
And Dragon, if damn it, I did it again. Sorry, Jacob. If they do go to the moon, oh my god, they have to play a remix of the moon level music from the video game. Oh my god, that if they don't do that, Jacob, that's going to be the biggest missed opportunity ever.
Well, I mean, that might be. I mean, I can think of like. I mean, that would be great, but there could be like licensing issues with Capcom and stuff like that.
Sort out the licensing issues. You need the moon level music.
No,
no, damn it.
one of the best a very good piece of video game music.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Anyways,
Especially the remastered one is good too. Sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm just kind of trying to think of where to steer the conversation. So speaking of Saline, this is gonna sound ridiculous, Jacob, but you know how Dragon and I are always going on about Vera Farmiga?
Yep.
Selene totally reminded me. She had the Farmiga charm, Jacob. She had the the Norma Bates, just like, oh, I'm such a pleasant person. Oh my god, I love your family, and Della Duck is so awesome, and oh, she's my best friend. I don't know, Jacob. It's just the pleasantry about this character. I really fell in love with her.
I just think it's kind of interesting that it wasn't that. I just thought it was kind of funny that even Donald wasn't the only one who made friends with the god.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was just a nice kind of reveal, after all the tension of Della, exactly what kind of a person Della Duck was.
And Selene wasn't like actually trying to be. She wasn't trying to be malicious. She was actually more. She's just trying to pull a prank on Della. I mean that was the kind of place like she's like a good friend of hers, and nobody knows what happened to her.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
But at least they like gave Dewey and Webby some solace in the sphere of Selene. Play on words.
Oh yeah. The spear is kind of interesting because I feel like it's almost kind of like what is it? It's memories, right?
It's like he showed her like memories of what happened of Della and her adventures. Like we actually got to see what she looked like when she was younger beyond the paintings.
Yeah.
And so actually got
I wonder how that's going to play into future episodes. I wonder if Scrooge and Donald find out about it, how they're going to react to having that.
Well, like whatever it is, it's what drove them apart.
Right.
Obviously, if I have any indication, it's probably going to come to a head sooner or later.
Okay, so looking ahead, as I said, episode 11 is going to be called "Beware the Buddy System," and that's going to be.
Should we mention the end? Do we mention the ending to this?
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. Go ahead.
It's fine, but like after them the spear, like, and after Scrooge intentionally botched the bocce ball game, it's like, oh dear me, I lost. Whatever will I do? It's like and Zeus sets them free from the island. Well, with minor note from earlier, they couldn't. He made it so they couldn't escape. Like so, like what happens is though, like as they're on their way out, Dewey accidentally drops the ball, drops the sphere into the bocce ball ring and knocks the ball loose. and knocks Zeus's ball and makes him so angry that he tries to trap them again.
Wait a minute. Do they pick up the spear again, or is the spear lost after that?
I don't think they lost it. I mean, I don't know if they picked it up or they would because they kind of just cut to them trying to leave.
I'll have to go back and rewatch that then, because I was kind of thinking that the spear was going to be a plot device going forward.
I didn't really pay attention to that either. I mean, if they lost it, they probably.
I didn't even think about that until right now.
I mean, my thought on that is, I think if they lost it, they would have like showed that they lost it, like made a big deal about it or something. But like after like we should leave now. and and then they get to the point, and then they get to the plane and find that Launchpad found the source of it. It was a single screw, and he completely dismantled the plane to find it.
Womp womp womp. That's Launchpad.
Who else but Launchpad?
It's Launchpad. Launchpad. All right.
You never know where he's gonna crash next.
Okay, so episode 11, as I was saying, is Beware the Buddy System, guest starring Lin-Manuel Miranda as Gizmo Duck, the world's coolest Disney nerd. Episode 12 is going to be called The Missing Links of More Sharif, if I'm pronouncing that right. And that's going to be a Glomgold-centric episode. Then finally, Jacob, an episode I'm really excited about, appropriately enough, episode 13. I bet they timed that out right. I bet that's intentional. Episode 13, Mystery at McDuck, or I'm sorry, it's Mick Mystery at McDuck Man. I'm sorry, one more time. Mick Mystery at McDuck McManor. I love that title, first of all.
Yep, and it features, it's some kind of ghost mystery featuring Scrooge, featuring some people from Scrooge's past, including you reveal it, Tiki, his long deceased butler,
Duckworth.
Yes.
So yes, folks, we're getting Gizmo Duck and we're getting Duckworth as a ghost, apparently.
It's a shame he's dead.
But I still hope that eventually he becomes a reoccurring character, like he's just haunting the mansion and just messes with Scrooge from time to time.
But Danny Kaye's a good actor, though. They picked a good actor for him.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Like I don't know if that's the finale, but I know that's the finale.
I don't think it's the finale. It's just they're just running new episodes every week in May.
Yeah, it's like I can't wait to see what they do with the deceased Duckworth. And if he'll actually be still like a dog, if they're actually going to make him a duck this time.
Ooh, that'd be interesting if they did make him a duck. That'd be a departure.
I mean, they haven't revealed anything yet, and they haven't really said, but I guess we'll find out.
You're right. All right. Okay, any final thoughts on this episode, Jacob?
So the middle of the run episodes, like definitely on the higher end of the 10 or so episodes we've seen so far. I wouldn't say it's anywhere close to the best, but definitely nowhere near the worst.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit for what it was. It got a good development on the Della Duck stuff, and it was a good kind of return to form for Scrooge and Donald's arc. It wasn't the episode with the most thrills or the biggest ha-ha moments, and I think there could have been a little bit more Launchpad in there. But overall, it was a solid time, a good return to form, and I can't wait to see where the show goes from here. It seems like they've got a good plan laid out in front of them. All right, folks, stay tuned for more next week, and we will be back.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Oh no, I lost to the god. Whatever shall I do?